welcome back. This should be the second video that you're watching as a cooperating teacher. Again, I'm Jill Hamilton Bunch, the Associate Dean for Initial Teacher Preparation, and I'm going to be leading you through the PAIRS training. There are a couple of materials that you'll need to download and print before you watch this video with your candidate. The first is the PowerPoint that we're going to walk through in just a moment. So if you can download that so that you have that handy in front of you, or you can just watch that on your computer as we go through. You'll also have a set of value cards that you'll receive from your candidate. They'll be in an envelope along with value cards instructions, and you'll be using those in just a moment with your candidate. And then there are two things that you also want to print. The first is the partner interview, and you'll want to print 2 copies of that. That is for you and your candidate to fill out independently, and then you'll come back together and compare your answers. And then there's another handout about generational differences. It's just titled Generation Information, and you can download that or just read that with your candidate together. And what it does is it just gives you some descriptors of the generational differences between baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, etc. And then the last thing you'll see in a link next to this video is co-teaching myths and realities, and that isn't something that you'll actually be assigned, but something that may be helpful as you navigate co-teaching with your clinical practice candidate. So without further ado, you'll have your PowerPoint in front of you, and we'll get started on the PAIRS training. The purpose of the PAIRS training is to walk you through some nuances of personality and work style with your clinical practice candidate, and to help them understand your work style and expectations as well. So in the first slide that you see there, you'll see the student teaching triad, and that triad is important because it helps us to understand who's part of this clinical practice teacher preparation experience. And the first is the teacher candidate who's coming to you, having completed fieldwork and coursework, and ready now to be in a clinical experience with a master teacher. Then you'll see the cooperating teacher, and that's you, the master teacher, who will be working alongside the candidate in the co-teaching model to deliver instruction to the students in your classroom while giving your clinical practice candidate, that teacher candidate, the experience of practice in a real classroom. And then finally, the university supervisor. The university supervisor will be visiting your classroom pretty much once a week, and they'll be working with you in ensuring that the teacher candidate is moving through the program. They'll also be the person, if you have any concerns, you speak with the university supervisor. They're your conduit to the university, and they're there also to ensure that the candidate is lesson planning, is participating in the classroom, and that they're also reflecting on their learning. During clinical practice, candidates are completing TPA 3 and 4. They have completed TPA 1 and 2 before they come to you, and the university supervisor will also be helping you with that work as you work with your candidate. So let's talk a little bit about what roles those folks play. And the first is the university supervisor. The university supervisor, and you'll see the slide here with puzzle pieces that says the university supervisor. They're there to provide that systematic and consistent support from the university. They're there to provide program information for you and the teacher candidate. They're going to observe pretty much every other week or every week as they're there, and provide feedback on a regular basis, both to you as the cooperating teacher and to the teacher candidate. And they also act as a confidant for you and the candidate. So not confidant in that there are things one is telling you that the other is not telling you, but to create that triad of support and to work in a consistent team of 3. They're also an advocate for the teacher candidate, so they're ensuring that the candidate is moving through the program in a strong way and completing what they need to complete. They build good communication, set clear expectations. And then the fourth bullet there on that second slide, you're going to see handle the difficult situations that might come up. If at any time you have a concern, please express that to the university supervisor. We do have a student concern form and process that you'll see in the forms video as we walk through the clinical practice handbook. But we do want to make sure that you understand that if you have any concern at all, that you can let the university supervisor know. You will be meeting with them in a 3-way conference, what we call a Triad conference, at least 2 times throughout the student teaching experience of that 7 or 8 weeks. And they are also there to lead in co-teaching strategies. So we just wanted to take a moment to introduce you to the university supervisor piece. We've talked a lot about in the co-teaching model about your role and the teacher candidate's role. So we want to make sure that we talked a little bit about the university supervisor's role. So let's get into some activities that you can do with you and your candidate. And the first thing that I would like you to do is to work through the envelope that you've been provided by the university that's marked value cards. And the value cards are this is an activity for you to work through with the teacher candidate where you can each talk about what you value, consistency, academic achievement. And it gives you just a moment to categorize those pieces. There isn't a right answer. It's based on what you value. And this is just a moment for you to get to know your teacher candidate and for them to know you so that you can respect each other's values and work in a cohesive manner to service kids. So take just a moment to complete the value cards. Once you've done that, come back to this video and we'll talk for just a few minutes more. So welcome back. You've done you've completed the value cards and hopefully gotten to know each other a bit. Before this next activity, we want you to have taken a moment to fill out the partner interview. And if you'd rather stop the video and take this home as a homework assignment and then come back together, that's great. Or you can take a few minutes to fill this out. But you'll see the handout next to this video called Partner Interview. And there are just some very broad questions there to start a conversation. And I'm just going to read through those very quickly. If you'd rather not download and print the interview, if you'd rather just discuss those or write those down together, that's fine too. The first question is, what is the hardest time of day for you? What subject areas are most challenging for you to teach? What is the most difficult time for the students in your classroom? And what are 2 expectations that you have as a cooperating teacher? And then for the teacher candidate, what are 2 expectations that the teacher candidate has? So take a moment just to talk about what you answered for those questions and talk that through and just get to know each other a bit and time for introduction to your students in your classroom. And then the last thing we're going to do today is just that general information, that generation information that I spoke of earlier. Again, you can read through that with your candidate and just talk about those differences. And then the co-teaching Missing Reality is also there for your information. Just one quick revisit to the PowerPoint. Just a note about co-teaching. The key to a good co-teaching experience is skill set, absolutely, and being able to deliver instruction to students. But what is really most powerful is the relationship between the teacher candidate and the cooperating teacher. And that allows you to work as a team. I think about that team work as being a strong, almost like a strong parenting situation where you have equal structures and equal responsibilities for the students, and it really allows it to be an additive process, a value-added piece to your classroom rather than just turning it over to the teacher candidate. And just a reminder that the teacher candidate is a novice, so they're new to the profession. So sometimes what seems intuitive to a cooperating teacher with many years of experience will be new to the teacher candidate. So the more that we can make as cooperating teachers, the more we can make that invisible decision making visible to them, the more overt we can explain that, the more helpful it is to the candidate. So it makes perfect sense as a seasoned teacher to ensure that kids are never just sitting without something to do. But to the teacher candidate, they may not have experienced that moment when their pacing is quicker than they thought or slower than they thought. So they may need your help and advice in that situation, and there will be many situations in that way. So one of the most important things you can do as a cooperating teacher is to really explain choices that you make instructionally as well as your management. Management is usually the toughest thing for our new teachers, simply because they haven't had that opportunity until they get into the actual classroom with real kids. So the more you can talk to them about management and systems and expectations, the more helpful it will be for the candidate's experience, and it helps it to be a good experience for you and for your students. So welcome to this next part of the journey and learning about your candidate. We hope this was helpful to you. And you'll see on the right-hand side as well, you'll see a link to a quiz. Just take that quiz, and that will be proof of your completion of PAIRS training. The next video you're going to see is forms training, and we'll walk you through the clinical practice handbook and expectations for you and your teacher candidate as far as what you're going to turn into the university. Thanks so much. We're glad you're on this journey.